guys want to say, happy to be here. Hi. We'd love to be able to see your stuff in the chat. Don't forget, we got you. Yeah, see, can't speak. Oh. Don't forget, we want to make this as interactive as possible. So if you guys have any questions, please ask them. And even if it's not really on today's topic, that's okay. We'll still answer them for you.
Absolutely.
So what is today's topic?
Our topic today is entrepreneurship. Ooh. So if you have questions of anything to do with being an entrepreneur, like, does it include no sleep? What did Rachelle just say? That's a fact.
Yeah,
right?
Especially when you're building an empire.
Yes, it's critical.
Journey to $1 billion.
Yes.
It's all the things all the time.
Sure is. We have a lot of people, though, that come to us quite often, whether they text us or call us or message on Facebook, always asking little tidbits about what's it like to run a business? What's it like to be an entrepreneur? All those kinds of things. And we're like, well, let's give some of the things we've gone through as entrepreneurs, building what we've built today. And it's a lot. So we can probably give a few good examples.
Totally. And it's interesting too, because even with we've got multiple businesses too. Our main one obviously being the real estate side of the company. And again, real estate investing. Some people confuse us for realtors because of the E.P.I.C Alliance Real Estate Inc. And we're like, nope, not realtors. I send every Airbnb guest a message and I always say, Rachelle Flam, E.P.I.C Alliance Real Estate Inc. And I've had so many people be like, oh, if I ever need a realtor, I'll call you. I'm like, no, don't call me. I don't do the things. So it's interesting. So we actually pivoted. That was a lesson we learned, right?
No kidding. Right there. Number one.
Yeah. So we actually switched it to put everything under E.P.I.C Alliance Inc. And then now we've got the electrical company, we've got the real estate company, and it's all under that umbrella. So now people are like, what's E.P.I.C Alliance Inc.? And then we talk about what we do.
And it's funny because it's like less is more when you develop a name or like a branding name for a company. So like pick some of the greats. Coca-Cola. Does it say anything about pop? No. Nike. Does it say anything about shoes? No. They built their name and based it off of an amazing product that people got to know the product,
it's the branding.
right? It's the branding. And it just, it was a lesson we learned. You didn't need to have a description in your name if your brand was really good.
Yeah. And again, it's taken time. We have talked about this in the past, but we tell everybody who we are and what we do. We have since day one, even when we weren't a thing, right? And some people are like, oh, who are you? We're like, we're E.P.I.C Alliance Inc. or we're E.P.I.C Alliance Real Estate Inc. And, we're real estate investors. Oh, how many properties do you have? Oh, we've got 2, right? But again, are you going to minimize yourself? Or are you just going to go out and do the things, right? If you want to be an entrepreneur, you got to have gumption, man. And if you're going to listen to people being like, oh, you can't do that, or there's doubt or failure or fear of success or whatever the, I don't know, whatever the small chatter in your head says, or other people, your friends, family, whatever might tell you, you have to get past that. You have to know in your heart and in your brain what you're willing to give up, what you're willing to put into it, and that you're not going to stray from your path.
Yeah. I think one of the biggest misconceptions, and I mean, this isn't for everyone, but a lot of people want to go into trying to be an entrepreneur and leave bridges for or a plan B or a plan C. It won't work because the minute it gets hard, you're going to go, you know what? I'm going to plan B instead. I'm just going to, forget it. It's not worth it. And again, I'm not telling everyone to go out and do this because it does. Why is entrepreneurialism 1% of the 1%ers? Because it's that hard. Anyone who tells you that it's not hard, they either had money going into it and then they were just able to gain some knowledge and make that money just make money, okay? They had nothing to lose, really, right? Or what they could lose, they could afford to lose, right? Whereas those of us who are really true entrepreneurs, a lot of us come in and don't have a lot. So if you go into this thinking, oh, well, I'll just go back to a job or I'll do this or I'll do that. Okay. But honestly, then you're never going to give 110% because you're always going to have that
a fallback. Yeah. It's that whole burn the ships mentality, right? If you go to war and you literally burn the ships behind you, there's no going back. You're all in. So it's super interesting that way. But again, that for us we were all in. There was no, oh, well, we'll go back to being electricians, or we'll go back to doing our previous lives. Like it was just, we
No.
were just, that was not a thing.
No.
Like, and I'm not bashing being an electrician. That's
No,
great for people who want a job,
Yeah.
a job. And there's lots of people who want to have steady income. They want to go to work and they want to work 9 to 5 or whatever their hours are. It's very predictable. They don't want any more extra stressors, and they don't want to have to manage other people or do other responsibilities and take on risk. And I mean, there's a lot of risk with what we do, just because at the end of the day, it's not just our mouths to feed and our families' mouths to feed anymore. It's also 74 other people and their families, right? It's not just all actually, we're hungry. So that can be a lot of pressure. And again, I have some people where I go and I try to talk to somebody who doesn't run a business, or they don't have, other mouths to feed. They don't have employees. They don't have other people who rely on them. And honestly, it's like a different language. Oh. Like I just can't even relate.
A 9 to 5er mentality is not the same as an entrepreneurial mentality.
Yeah.
When you're an entrepreneur, your head doesn't shut off. You're literally thinking about it nonstop. And it's not because you're sick or it's a disease. It's because you're that passionate and you're that in love with what you do. Yeah. That it's a flame inside you that just will not go out. Yeah. And that is why it's not for everybody, because not everybody is wired that way. And there's no shame in that. If there was shame in that, we wouldn't be offering apprenticeship programs for electrical, plumbing, and carpentry. Instead, we would be offering a university for entrepreneurialism. Well, that's not what we're doing. We're offering amazing careers and jobs to people because we realize in order to be the best entrepreneurs and visionaries that we are, we need that team behind us to make it happen.
Yeah.
So if we could, I guess, get into this, tips for first-time entrepreneurs. You don't get to sleep.
Yeah. So with anybody who's owned a business or does own a business, there's like a lot of times when you're starting out, you're starting and you're bootstrapping, mm-hmm. right? So you are doing all the things because that keeps your overhead down. It keeps your costs down. Does it make the most sense? Sometimes not, when you actually put a dollar value on what your time is worth and what you are best at and what your skill set is. But again, we started and it was just the two of us, mm-hmm. and we did all the things, even though we were not great at all the things, but that's where we started. That's where we were. And we always figure if we can do something, 5 times ourselves before we hire it out, then at least we know how it needs to be done, right? It's the same thing with contracting. When we have contractors come through a property to give us a quote, there's some of them that'll come in and, they don't know who we are. They don't know what our perspective is or what we know, right? So a lot of people don't know that we're in the trade. So they would come through on a flip and they'd be like, oh, this has to be done. And oh my goodness, this is so much work and da-da-da-da-da. Give us a quote for half the stuff that didn't even need to be done just because they thought we were women who probably didn't know what we were doing, right? And so for us, we were like, yeah, thanks. The door's right there. Bye. Right. So again, like you just need to know enough to get things done and for it to make sense. You don't need to know everything.
No. And I think what it really comes down to is why you kind of go through some of the steps is so you can learn the language. Every area of every business, of every profession has language. And some people look at me crazy when I say this. Well, take electricians. When we talk breakers or we talk panels or we talk services, how many of you know what that is? How many of you don't, right? Okay, carpentry, when we talk rafters, when we talk hurricane hinges, when we talk those kinds of things, how many of you know what it is? Accounting, how many of you truly understand credits and debits? It's not that you have to know every intricate piece of it. The key is to know enough so that you can have that educated conversation with someone you're either going to contract to extend you, allow you to expand, right? So a bookkeeper is a prime example. If there was one person that Rachelle and I said we would have brought on faster, it would be a bookkeeper, someone to help with the receipts, credits, debits, those kinds of things, keeping that stuff in order for taxes and all of that, right? And instead of us trying to sit down and catalog it all and whatever. That was time we could have been building out the business. And I think that's one of the biggest things that people struggle with wrapping their head around, right? Am I saying you have to bring on a full-time employee for all these? No. What you can do though is there's tons of people that work from their homes or have small businesses of theirs where you can approach and do contracts, right? You know, because look at it this way. Someone who's really skilled at that area is going to do it in probably half or a third of the time that you're going to do it. Okay. What is that going to give you? The ripple effect. Okay. What can you do with that extra third or half of time that you created or that you gained? Right. So again, I think that's the big one that we talked to a lot of people about, and we're like, what will help you be freer to do what you're really, really good at?
Totally. And then even going back to basics, when it comes to picking a company or picking a business or what it is you even want to do, right? Make sure that you've done enough test marketing, or you know that whatever it is you're choosing to do is profitable enough to actually pay yourself what you're worth. Because the biggest thing I find a lot of people struggle with is they'll start a business that they think it's a good idea or they love doing it. But then when you actually count the amount of hours and then the actual money they're getting paid for doing it, they may as well be working minimum wage at McDonald's, because for that dollar per hour that they're getting, that's pretty comparable, right? So you want to make sure that you're getting paid what your worth is. But at the same time, there's some jobs that you can't, I don't know what examples to use or whatever, but you can only bill out what you can bill out. Like, just because you think your service is so much more spectacular than somebody else's, if there's not a value add that somebody's willing to pay for, then you're not going to have any customers. So you're not going to have a business. It's not going to last, right? So you just need to make sure that you've done all your proper market analysis, that what it is you're bringing to the table for your business or you as an entrepreneur, whatever makes sense, and that it's sustainable. Like, I don't know the actual stats, but I'm pretty sure it's something like 90% of all businesses fail within the first 5 years, right? So for us, I know for me anyway, Alyssa and I went to a seminar and it was about entrepreneurship and all this kind of stuff. And I think it was to do with, I can't remember the exact topic, but it was talking about angel investors or startups, Ross, venture capital.
That guy, yeah.
It was, something to do with venture capital or whatever. And it was more for like tech or whatnot, but we were curious. We're always expanding. We were always networking and whatnot. So we ended up going, and it was so weird because they were talking about how there's like that 1 to 5 years. What is it?
It's 5 to 10, the gap.
Yeah, but it was 1 to 5 is that's where 90% of all businesses fail.
Yes.
Then there's the 5 to 10 year, which they call Death Valley.
Yeah.
And that is like the gap where it's really tough because you're sustainable now, but at the same time, if you want to level up, it's tough. It's just really, really tough. And it was so funny because Alyssa and I looked at each other and we were like, there's a name. Oh my God. That's where we are. Like, it was crazy. And for us, it really got our wheels spinning, and we were like, okay, cool. Now that that's kind of like identified that that's not just us, it's a thing. How do we get through this? Right. And so, it didn't work out for us to do any venture capital stuff, but it came down to Alyssa and I said, we don't want to sell shares of the company.
Yeah.
And that's how a lot of people bridge that gap. They sell out, they sell shares of the company. And we just said, we've worked too damn hard to give up that equity, right? And so we didn't need to go that way. So we ended up actually getting some investor capital loans, and we did give up shares in the company as security, but we have the rights to buy those investors back. So once they get paid their full principal and all the interest back, then we'll get those shares back and we still have control of our company. So, there's a lot of different ways to do it, but it was really interesting that we were like, oh my gosh. And then of course, when we get to year 10, I'm sure there will be a whole other can of worms, right?
I think and I don't even think it took us to year 10 to cross this gap. That they talked about the Death Valley. We're on the other side of it. There's such a shift. And what was funny? One of the biggest things that helped us shift through that was bringing on Jen, our coach. That was one of the biggest things, because she really helped us get out of our own way. And that was a massive piece, bringing in the right coach, the right mentor when you're in those places. And another lesson that we learned is, ask for help. don't be afraid to, if you don't understand something, you guys, anyone starting stuff now, you're so blessed between the Google like has so much info, right? Be careful because some of the info on there can be very misleading.
Yeah.
But at least it'll allow you to learn pieces of language so you can find the right people and have those educated conversations. Honestly, that in itself is a blessing. And now the amount of groups and educational companies that are out there for entrepreneurs, like Saskatoon has Square One as an example for startup. We worked with starting our electrical company with WESC, Women Entrepreneurs of Saskatchewan, right? Like, I mean, there's all these groups. Ask for help. Go to them, attend them, check them out. They're there for that very reason, to help you start up businesses. And the ones I listed are Saskatchewan, but it doesn't matter where you are. There are groups, or you can find them online to ask the questions and get that help. Definitely would be a big one that we would have probably done a little sooner.
Yeah, for sure. So there's a comment in here. Daryl says, I don't know much about what you do in real estate investing. Where would I be able to find that out? So Ashley has put links in the chat for past webinars, and we do post a lot of content on our Epic Alliance Inc. Facebook page. We've got our Epic Alliance Inc. Instagram page. We also have our website, which is www.epicallianceinc.com. And there's videos on there like crazy. We're trying to build out more YouTube content, and this is why we're doing the Epic Hours. So we have lots of different information, but essentially we are very active real estate investors, and we partner with people who want to invest in residential real estate, but be completely hands off. So they're busy leading their best lives, and they just want to work with us. And that's where the Epic partnerships come into play.
And we have two key products, the Fund to Flip and then the Hassle-Free Landlord Program. Those are our keys for working to grow wealth for people or cash flow.
Yep, totally.
Yeah. And so that's a big lesson we learned. Rachelle and I, boy, were we ballsy when we first started, because we took all this education and we're like, we can do all the things because we have all this education in residential real estate. We can do rent to owns, we can do lease options, creative financing, property management, yada, 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 right? And
then we did. We proceeded to do all the things. You guess what, guys? You know what happens when you do all the things? You don't do anything well. And you literally can't even grow in any one direction really, really well, because you're literally here. Right. So stay in your lane. Yeah. Figure out what your lane is and stay in it.
Yeah, because you can literally follow our growth. We started flipping to the public. Again, that was also to do with market changes. But the thing is, you can see literally our business take off the minute we went, this is it. This is our focus. This is what will stop us with shiny object syndrome. This is what will keep us going and get us to high achievements. And we've watched other entrepreneurs. Actually, you can, same thing. You can see other companies. I'm going to talk about Spruce Homes, right?
Spruce Homes,
yeah, another example. They kind of started out not long after us. They were doing rent to owns. They pivoted and shifted, and they really focused on doing beautiful customized builds for people, and it's their niche. It's working for them. They are building houses all over the place and doing an amazing job. And the rent to owns, they were doing okay, but they shifted because it was a better focus for them to do the builds than the rent to owns. And they tried rental properties too, and it also wasn't a big thing for them.
And again, rent to owns are tough in markets that don't appreciate. And Saskatchewan just doesn't appreciate. We all know this, right? It's very, very slow and steady, which is why they don't really make sense here. Because the only way you can actually be profitable in a rent to own is if you can literally push the valuation on the property by at least 3% a year in appreciation. So that's why they're really hot in Vancouver and Toronto, because out there it's tough to find cash flow. And so this is where you can get a built-in tenant and, prepping people to be homeowners, all that kind of stuff. So it's just knowing your market. And that's just real estate. There's a million different ways you can run businesses. Like I'd honestly, like we probably come up with at least a business idea a day.
Oh yeah.
Right. Just based on.
It's so hard. It's so hard. When you look at someone doing something, it's like, oh my God, we could come in and if you just changed A, B, and C, this would be $1 million business.
Yeah,
and it's just like, and nope, see this?
Yeah.
That's us right now for 3, 4, 5 years. That's it.
Yeah.
That's it.
And it's really tough, especially when you're wired to be entrepreneurial. You literally look around and just see opportunity everywhere. Like for us, we were just meeting with some people about the building we're leasing and everything. And we were talking about different ideas and we were like, we need an asbestos abatement company. We need a window and door company.
Pest
we
control.
Need, yes. Like just all these different
like
arms.
a dozen.
Like it's crazy.
Yeah.
But at the same time, we're like, no, and no, because unless we can find someone to actually run that side of the company, we can raise the capital, we can put all the back end stuff together because we have people in our world now who can do that. But at the end of the day, if it takes time away from the focus of our journey to $1 billion, we don't do it. It's even with commercial properties. How many times have people brought us commercial properties, right? And I said, no, like I'm not interested in getting financing from a bank until we hit our journey to $1 billion. Because at the end of the day, I want to say everything. We control $1 billion worth of residential real estate with zero of our own dollars. Right. And if we go and add commercial in there, it's a totally different game. If we had to go to the bank to get financing, it's a totally different game. I don't want to learn that game right now. Once we get to $1 billion, then we'll learn that game. So ACE.
Yeah. Do you still share a list of properties on Hassle-Free Landlord Program? No.
We pivoted.
Yeah. And adapted.
Yeah. So now what we do is once people have come to us and had a discovery session phone call, we put them in touch with one of our mortgage brokers. You get a pre-approval. And then from there, you come back to us and we talk about what type of property you're looking for and what price point. And then based on that, we'll send you 3 properties for currently available hassle-free landlord houses that you can choose from.
So here's why. Is it realistic that you're going to sit down and actually look through 40 to 60 houses? Not likely. So it just makes more sense. Once we got from you, there's no point in sending you a 2-bed, 1-bath, single family home if your price point is $400,000 and you're looking at duplexes, right? So that's why we don't just have it up anymore. It's just a matter of, there you go.
The main reason is our inventory changes so quick.
Yes.
We literally, like I now when I send those 3 appraisals out to our investors to review, I literally say, send me your first, second, then third choice, because our houses move so quick. And if I have 2 investors looking for $200,000 properties, you're probably getting the same properties to choose from. Well, if investor A picks 2 and then investor B wants to, sorry, dude, move quicker.
Yeah.
That's just how it works. Again, pivoting and adapting. For us, we move at lightning speed. We actually just bought a property. We got under contract on Saturday. Did we look Friday? I don't know. I think we looked at it on Friday. Anyway, we're buying it next Friday. Or sorry, this Friday, pardon me. So like a week, right? Because the guy's like, yeah, I can sell it. It's actually a funny story, the power of social media. But it's somebody who follows us on social media. Yeah. He's a friend on Facebook. I don't know. We never met him in real life kind of thing. Yeah. He lives in Saskatoon. But when we were doing our 50 hassle-free landlord houses in 60 days campaign, he saw us post our one property, which is half of a duplex, on social media. So he messaged me and said, hey, I own the other half of that duplex. Do you want to buy it? And we were like, possibly. Maybe. But like literally, what are the chances of that? Like, crazy. So anyway, that's the property we're buying this Friday. So it's a small world and you don't know unless you ask, right? But for us, we're all about win-win opportunities. And that story gets a whole lot crazier actually, because we were messaging and I was talking about the power of intention and putting it out there. And then he had mentioned that he might be looking for a place on the east side, 300,000, 350,000, family home, blah, 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 whatever.
To fix up and
live in and whatnot. And we were like, honestly, single family homes, we would not be buying that.
Not usually.
Like we wouldn't look for that, right? No. Then literally later that evening, I think it was, Melissa gets a call. And
it's a woman that's looking. We had helped a friend of hers we didn't end up purchasing her property, but we did know a flipper who was looking for a property of that type. And we said, well, it's not for us, but I know somebody that is more than likely going to buy this property. Do you want me to put you guys together? And so she heard her friend's story and said, do you think they would talk to me and they would know somebody if they don't buy it? And so she reached out, and it was so funny because I'm going to look at that house tonight. And yeah, and she just, it's, you know, one of these things where she's not really interested in listing just because of her life. The business she runs, the things she does, it, you know, having lots of people through is just not convenient. And I was like, yeah, I'll come have a look. And lo and behold, it sounds like it's very, very similar to what this person that we just bought their rental property off of is looking to buy. And I actually talked to him today, and he's like super interested. So, you know, don't know, right? Like, you got to put it out there, because if you don't, if you keep it all up here, the only person who knows is you. It dead ends right here.
Yeah. So it's wild when you actually put stuff out and you think on it, and then all of a sudden it's like the wheels kind of happen. I always say the universe colludes and makes it happen.
Yeah.
Right? So,
and if you want to piss off the universe, use the word never. Say never, right, Rachelle?
Yeah. We're never doing that. 2 months later.
We're doing that.
Okay, I guess we're doing that. Yeah. So that's a lesson. Yeah, I learned that.
We make sure that either of us never uses the word never.
Yeah.
Never.
So
we just say, not right now. And then the universe will respect that.
Yeah, usually. So it's interesting. But then obviously there will be a carrot dangling, and I'm like, fine.
Shiny
maybe.
object syndrome.
Yeah. Yeah. So do we have any questions or anything from anyone? No.
Okay.
Well, if you have anything, let us know.
Yeah. And I mean, if you're in a business or you're thinking about starting it, by all means, send questions. And just for people out there that don't know or aren't sure, by all means, you know, you can send your questions. I don't know, you guys can put up where to send them. They don't have to, you guys don't have to do it during this program. You can send them beforehand, email them in. I don't know how else they can send them, but you can communicate and then turn around
Smoke
and
signals.
Right. Whatever works. You know, honestly, send them in, and, you know, we may end up doing a whole show around it just because you asked, right? So, and I mean, then you can, what we should do is when people ask questions is we'll get back to you saying, this is when we're going to answer it. Or if it's something that we're just going to answer for you, we'll answer it.
Cool.
Yeah.
All right. And then do we want to go over lessons you've learned?
Oh, Lord. Well, we kind of talked about some of those, but there's so many. Honestly, I mean, all the old adages come up, like, don't judge a book by its cover. You know, when you think it's not going to happen, it will happen. You know, all these things. It's so funny. You know, it's true. I think some of the biggest lessons are you're your own worst enemy for getting in your way. You're the one that puts the biggest limits on yourself. Those are just so true, right? And I think it goes back to people won't ask for help because, won't ask for help because it's you know, it's the stigma, like, oh, if I don't have all the answers, how can I be this boss bugger or bitch, right? And, you know, it's, you can, like, sometimes that's our biggest thing is it's not about us having the answer. It's just, we know someone that can have a really great answer, right? And that can be more important than you having all the answers. So those are some of my big lessons.
Yeah. And I think for myself, it's just a matter of being very completely aligned with what it is that you are doing. If you are going to jump in and your business, whatever that may be, is what you're putting all of your energy towards, make sure you honor that and make sure you are actually putting all your energy towards that. Because I think a lot of people, when push comes to shove, again, we've talked about this, being an entrepreneur is not for the faint of heart.
No.
It's stressful.
Mm-hmm.
It is a lot of work. Yep. And I chose not to have children, and I treat our businesses like they're my babies, right? Like it's one of those things that keeps me up at night sometimes. And that's what happened last night. And it wasn't like, I have no trouble sleeping when I actually have time to sleep. But when it comes down to it, I had basically $1.5 million worth of deals I had to push through to get to the lawyers for this week. And I knew that it would make this week a lot easier if I lined up all the deals and everybody was on the same page. So I was like, okay, I'm going to commit to doing this. And it was interesting too, because the reason I got bottlenecked was I have a rental vehicle right now and the back window got smashed out on the weekend. So that was an extra, 2.5 hours of cleanup I didn't expect to have into my day. And so it was just, things happen on the fly, things that are out of my control, things that are out of your control. But how do you react, and how are you going to deal with the situation at hand, right?
Yeah.
Are you going to curl up and die? Or are you just going to pivot and adapt, like we say, right? So, okay, again, I look at what can I do with what I have in my world. I was working like crazy. This whole thing happened. I was like, it's going to rain. I can't even deal with this. So I literally came to the shop. I parked the SUV rental in the shop, and I was like, you're dead to me for the weekend. I'm going to take one of the work trucks, do my things, and I'll come deal with you later. So I knew I had to bring the work truck back for this morning. So literally last night, 11 o'clock at night, here I am cleaning up all the glass, cleaning up my vehicle, typing up the window, doing all that stuff. And, then I got to start working on the business paperwork at 11:30 at night. Again, am I bitching about it? No, it's just the way yesterday went, right? So then today I was like, okay, epic hour. Let's get an energy drink and go. So it's always an adventure, but at the end of the day, do you have the balls to do it?
Yeah. And you have to ask hard questions. I shouldn't say hard, quality questions of yourself. Exactly that. When you're at your lowest or your wit's end, what more have you got? Think of examples of that in your life. Okay, that's a big one right there. Number 2, are you okay that everything in your life can change like that? Okay, the friends that you have, the ones that you have, if you're going to be an entrepreneur, it's not uncommon that other friends are just going to push themselves out. Basically, they're just going to fall off because they're going to be like, hey, how come you're not coming out Friday night with us to go drinking or whatever you can do now that everything's locked down? But anywho, and how come you're not doing this? How come you're not doing that? And it's like, no, I got paperwork. No, I got things to deal with. I got employees. I got a house fire. I got, all these things that are going to get thrown at you. And it's like we always say, Rachelle and I say all the time, we're giving up 10 solid years of our life so that after that point, we're going to be living this amazing life. But we also put in enough hours in that 10 years to probably do 3 careers, right? So it literally, it works itself out, right? And I think that's what a lot of people, they watch too many things on the internet, and it's like, oh, I can be an entrepreneur. Look at that guy in his car, and look at this, and he's doing all the things. And it's like, he is doing all the things, but to get to all those things, it's all the trenches and the mudslinging and the, what did they have to do till 4 a.m. to make it happen, right? And I think that's what a lot of people don't see. They just see the end, and then they're like, yeah, I want that. And then all of a sudden, 3 weeks in, they're like, I don't want that. So you need to ask yourself some hard questions, okay? Like I said, when you get to the end at something, think of yourself, okay? Even your work week, okay? You worked your 9 to 5, what do you do every day when you come home? If it's you got to sit down for 3 hours to get over it, analyze hard, okay? That could be because you need changes or whatever the case may be, right? That's just examples that I'm talking about, right? If you don't have something to push and push and push, it's going to be really tough for you, okay? So those are good questions. Some other good questions are, where can I go for help? Like if you think you really have something you're super passionate about, and that can be anything. There's lots of people who are part of MLMs and they're entrepreneurs because they've created teams and they've taken that product and made it a real thing, okay? If you can't have conversations with people, don't be an entrepreneur, okay? Because you're going to be around all kinds and all types of people.
Yeah, and this could even be if you're running a tech company, or if what you're doing is all behind the scenes. Well, at the end of the day, if you're running the company, you're still going to have to be able to communicate what it is you do and sell yourself or sell your services to people in your world. Or if you're really good with the tech stuff, then you can partner with somebody or hire somebody to do all the sales stuff or the stuff up front, right? So it's, again, our
know
partnerships, yeah, and our partnership's a good idea.
Depends.
Not all the time.
Depends. It really does. You got to find the person. Like people always look at Rachelle and I and go, how the hell are the two of you in the same room? Yeah. And you know what? It's because the things that counted It doesn't matter what we wear. It doesn't matter our hair color, skin color. Who gives a flying flip? Okay. What mattered is our morals and our values were identical to build a foundation for a business. Okay. Those are the things that count, right? We both, how do we feel about our clients? They are number one. You fuck with an investor, you fuck with a client, you're going to get shit beyond shit. Okay. What does our one friend say? The Rachelle shit. Big shit. The Rachelle big shit.
He doesn't want to get in big shit.
Big shit.
He's over getting in big shit.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. So, I mean, that's just the nature of the beast. And if you, honestly, like you have to find the people that are going to bring out your strengths, but at the same time, partner with your weaknesses. Rachelle is better at giving big shits than I am. It's not better. It's just, we do it differently.
We do it differently.
Yeah.
Some people use Rachelle as a threat because they're like, don't mess up, guys. You don't want Rachelle to come after you. Yeah. And again, it's not like I'm trying to be really mean. It's just that I have very little patience for
and time for errors. That matter.
Yeah.
Like really.
So it's like, I need everybody to step up or step out. It's not that hard. Right.
Yes.
And so for me, I'm like going back to basics, going back to the systems. And it's like, if you don't have the capacity for this, then leave. It doesn't make sense, right? Because I'm going to be yelling and I'm going to be angry, and it's just energy for what? Yeah. And, it's not the best way to communicate, but at the end of the day, it gets shit done. And, I guess it is what it is.
Yep.
I grew up in a very yelly household, and we just use our voices to communicate. Some people can't handle it, and don't be around me then.
And because we're partners in business, do you think we get along about everything and everything's roses and rainbows? No, but we can respect each other's.
I can't always be unicorns.
No, it can't. I know. I like my unicorns. But honestly, it comes down to when we end up at a conclusion or a decision, it's because, and it works because our morals and our values and those things align. Usually then it's like, oh, I get where she's coming from. I can see that.
Yeah. And honestly, it works out really well. And it goes back to having Jen as a coach, and we work on our stuff and the business stuff together. And we're our own entities. We're our own people, but we converge to bring the best of ourselves to the business and the company. Yeah. But what's interesting is there's certain things that I'm going to be more passionate about. And then there's certain things that Alyssa's going to be more passionate about.
Like unicorns.
And at the end of the day, I'm like, I'm not going to fight you on something that you're more passionate about. You take it. I don't really care. And it's not that I don't care. So I'm like, I don't give a shit, but it's just that I'm not super passionate about this one. So I'll just support whatever decision you make. Yeah. Right. And that's, I think, where it's worked really, really well for us. So. Absolutely.
And that's the thing. Like, I'll come to Rachelle and I'll be like, hey, you need to take this because it's not like, I'm not.
Yeah.
It's not my area.
And even with our team, like there's certain things they'll come to me. I'm like, that's an Alyssa thing.
Yep.
I don't know.
The same thing. I'm like, that's a Rachelle thing.
Yeah.
Our team will vouch. Ashley's nodding her head. They do. They say that.
But it's just, again, it's like anything to do with design or picking pretty things about houses, then I'm like, that's my stuff. Whereas if people are like, oh, I need to know a system or a process on the back end of the company, I'm like, I don't even know who works for us. Like, I don't, you know what I mean? Like, I don't, like,
there's team building right there in that moment.
No, I'm not saying, but I'm like, seriously, if they don't necessarily deal with us in this office and they're all in the warehouse, I don't know. Like, I go around, I'm like, hi, who are you? Welcome to the team. Like, I don't know.
It's also a sign of how quickly things are growing because there are new people that are coming on. And, it's cool because the people that don't fit here don't last. They really just don't. It's just the way it goes, and it does it naturally. It's its own ecosystem, and it either eats you or you thrive.
Yeah. And it goes back to building the brand and the corporate culture.
Yes.
Right. We worked on that really hard, and it's wild because that actually came through a few different things. We tried working with a few different people to build that corporate culture, and honestly it kind of just came as a byproduct of the work we were already doing. We have a question.
Ooh. Oh, right. I think that's Audrey. Is it a buyer's or seller's market right now?
In Saskatoon is where we can comment because that's where we're buying right now.
It's a buyer's market.
But it's interesting because there's a brief moment in time right now because of the COVID. It's easy to sell properties. If somebody had a property that they were wanting to list and it was priced well and they wanted to move it quickly, chances are you'll move it quickly.
Mhm.
There's a low inventory right now. A lot of people were scared to have people in their houses or to list their properties during the whole COVID thing. So it actually created a shortage
of product.
yeah, in the market space. So that's why for
Brief
us, yeah,
shortage.
it's just a snippet in time.
Yeah.
I think it'll go back to being regular here in the next 3 to 4 months. But yeah, it's definitely interesting.
Yeah, it's true. And so what did we cover? We got unexpected challenges. That's daily. As an entrepreneur, that's never changing. If you're continuously, the only way to deal with unexpected challenges is one, having the right coach. That's number one. The other area I would say that is super important, never stop growing your knowledge, right? Because knowledge can also mean the group of people that you can ring a phone or send an email to ask a question. Okay. We have been to so many conferences and met so many people. It's not often that if we come across something, we're like, not really our field, but hey, we can reach out to so-and-so,
Yeah.
right? They would like answer an email from us. That's pretty cool. Right.
Yeah.
So that's definitely, and I mean, that's the world of entrepreneurialism. That's why it's not 9 to 5. That's why it's not high security, because it is unexpected challenges. That is the definition of being an entrepreneur.
It's solving other people's problems.
That's it. That is what you do. And then you're making a business out of it.
Yeah. And the networking has really served us over the years. Like we have always been continually expanding our network and growing. And again, the power of social media. I remember when we first started the company, I refused to get on Facebook. I was like, I hate that social media shit. Yeah. That's so stupid. Yeah. Who even does that? Yeah. Right? Just whatever. And then we actually went to a conference and they talked about the power of social media. And I was like, fine. I'll go on just for business. So I do actually run my personal Facebook page more for business anyway, because all I do is work. So why not, document a little bit about it? But it's interesting. Like I've maxed out my 5,000 Facebook friends and, I hear all the time like, oh yeah, we're friends on Facebook. I'm like, cool. Couldn't tell you. Like I actually don't spend much time on there, scrolling through, liking everybody else's stuff. I'm pretty busy doing all the things here, but I am on there messaging a lot because that's how I communicate with a lot of investors or people in our world. And so it looks like I'm on Facebook all the time. So people are like, yeah, didn't you see it on Facebook? I'm like, I don't actually see a lot of the things on Facebook. It just looks like I'm on there a lot. So it's interesting to see people's perspectives and whatnot, but yeah. And it, again, the unexpected challenges with our coach, we do different, our coaching with our our energy coach, Jen, has evolved over time. But for us, we do personal. So Alyssa does her personal session. I do my personal session every 2 weeks. And then we do a business one together once a month, and it's 2 hours. So it's really good. It's worked. The dynamic is awesome. Keeps us focused, keeps us channeling, and gives us homework and whatnot. But I had my coaching call last week and it was so weird because right now, I was trying to explain and I'm like, it's weird. And I don't know how to explain this, but this unexpected challenge that kind of popped up was I was like, it's weird because like things are running smoothly. I was like, I have an awesome assistant who's finally, this is the fourth assistant who's worked at my desk, who's finally getting it. But again, I had to go back and figure out what was I doing wrong? What was I hiring wrong? And so I went back.
What did she really want?
And I manifested my own paralegal, right? That's what I said. I turned around and I was like, who would be an amazing candidate to work at my desk? Who has the capacity for this job? Who, can figure out the numbers and do all the high level activities? And so for me, I looked at Deb. She works at the law office that we work at. She's an amazing paralegal. And I was like, I just need a Deb.
And then once she communicated that with me, it was super easy for me to be like, that I can do.
Yeah. So we found Brenda, who's amazing. And then I don't train very well. I have no patience. So I actually, because I was like, oh, I don't want to burn her out. I don't want to scare her. So I actually got Bailey to learn that position, the assistant position, so that she could train Brenda. Mm-hmm. And so again, that's going to serve us because when Bailey and I go back on the road, she's going to be able to communicate directly with Brenda so that all the things are getting done. So it's just like all these things kind of fitting into place. And then with Bailey stepping up and helping with the sales side, and then now she's shifting over into the affiliate coordinator position. And that's going to be a whole other thing. So she's just getting back from Vancouver tomorrow. And so we're going to be regrouping, and then we're actually going to be launching the affiliate army next week. So we'll be talking about that actually on our next week's Epic Hour episode.
Yeah, we might as well break into that. Webinar. Yeah. Episode. Yeah, that thing.
All right.
It's a new word.
So next week's Epic Hour, if you're interested, is going to be on Thursday, July 16th at 2 p.m. Central in Saskatoon time, Saskatchewan. And then that'll be 1 p.m. PST and 4 p.m. EST if you're able to join us. But we're actually going to be talking about
the affiliate army and what it's all about and what value it's going to bring to you.
For sure. So we're just actually working on all the back end logistics this week, but it's going to be pretty amazing. I'm so excited for it. It's for people who are remotely entrepreneurial, and if you like to talk to people and you're interested in building another stream of income, this is going to be absolutely amazing. We already have a lot of people who partake into it as far as our referral program, but this is going to be like next level. We're going to give you guys so much support for people who want to just really go. So I'm pretty stoked.
It'll be awesome. It's going to be an amazing learning curve because it's really just all about a mini conversation. We're going to give you those key points on how to get people really interested so that you can turn around and make, are we going to tell them or are we wait until next week?
Yeah, you can say.
Are you sure? Okay. So our referral fee is $1,000
per closed deal. So we have some interesting stats. Should we talk about some nuggets?
Oh, I'll wait till next week. Okay. They got to tune in.
We'll wait till next week.
Yeah, they got to tune in. They got to, what $1,000 can turn into.
So next week, some of the stuff we'll talk about, we actually have the stats on how much we've paid out, how many thousands of dollars we've paid out in referral fees since we started our company. And we'll also talk about how much our biggest affiliate partner has made to date and counting. These numbers are exciting, guys. Yeah. I was blown away. I was blown away, actually. Yeah. And we're the ones paying out the referral fees, but it adds up. It's a compound effect, right? It's pretty wild.
Yep. Beth, does Affiliate Army march into the States or is it strictly Northerners?
So this is kind of the reason that we are waiting till the July 15th is the launch date. So we are waiting for that, but we will be launching in the States shortly. So we will be onboarding Affiliate Army people so that you can get into it at the same time. And the product might just be a couple weeks behind, but yeah we want to just go out.
What do you got?
Beth says gasp, say it isn't so.
You betcha.
Yeah. And then I think this is Francille. I hope I said that right. Such wonderful women. Aw. Love you guys. I'm getting ready to start my own business. Good for you.
Congrats. That's amazing.
Understand it's a roller coaster ride. Some days you're going to feel the high. You know that sensation like when you jump off something and there's nothing kind of below you and you're like, I'm eating butterflies. You'll feel that. And then on a roller coaster how sometimes you feel the sensation you want to throw up. You'll feel that. And then the sensation when you come off and you're like dizzy and you don't know which direction to go. You'll feel that. A roller coaster is really a great summary of what an entrepreneur is.
And then at the end of the day, you might have those start the car moments. Sometimes Alyssa and I, something will happen and we're like, start the car, start the car. Yeah. So it's kind of like our MO. We got to go chat about something.
So something crazy good happened.
It's wild. And that's really the beauty of it. Again, for me, I'm a total adrenaline junkie. So I literally live for this shit. Yeah. But some people just don't have the stomach for it. So but congratulations. That's amazing. And honestly, I think now is the best time to be starting a company because if you can, there's a lot of gaps in the market. There's right so now, much opportunity.
It's everywhere. We're like, it is so hard to wear our blinders right now because we're like, if you just did this, now this is amazing because of COVID. And if you just did this, it's too much.
And even you look at the companies that are around here, like, I mean, we've got Minhas. They do alcohol and other stuff and whatever, but they actually started bottling hand sanitizer.
Yeah, they're a brewery. And so then they started making hand sanitizer.
Yeah.
Brilliant.
Again, pivoting and adapting. It's pretty wild, right? Yeah. And, people have gone into the face shields and, just whatever it is.
Or we're pretty blessed here. We don't really have to deal much with masks, but how many people have done custom masks? I've seen everything now from you can get your picture and it's on a cloth mask to whatever.
And then I saw another one that was like, I don't know, sort of headband and it has buttons on it. And so instead of putting the elastics on your ears, you put it on the buttons on the headband, right? Like there's innovation, guys. Like literally there's so much stuff everywhere. You know what's interesting about this? So Alyssa's been working really hard on trademarking and on branding, locking down all of our hassle-free landlord program stuff, our fund flip program stuff. And
letter got sent this morning.
We actually had to send our first cease and desist letter. So we contacted our lawyer and said, hey, I'm pretty sure this person's trying to rip us off.
Our lawyer, who's out of Toronto, Alex, we love you. You're amazing.
Yeah. And at the end of the day, she was like, oh my gosh, this is exactly like this person had literally gone in and literally tried duplicating our program to the point where they used 3 out of our 4 proprietary words. And I was like, really? There's no other words in the English dictionary that could mean hassle-free? You literally had to call it hassle-free? And you literally had to offer 15% returns? Like, did that sound like a good idea to you? Yeah, probably not. So anyway, it'll be interesting to see what happens over the next 2 weeks.
We'll find out.
But yeah, maybe we'll have an episode talking about that afterwards. And we can talk about how people should probably stay in their lanes.
Yeah. But and all the back end stuff is important. It's finally coming true. All the work I've been doing is paying off.
And it's funny because we were actually worried about that happening in the States. It's just why we were trying to all lock this down, and it happened in Canada.
Go figure.
Who knew, hey?
COVID brought out the worst in everybody.
So anyway, pretty funny stuff. But you know, again, the challenges are always just different, but different highs, different lows, and it's just really what you make of it. But I honestly, I wouldn't change this life for any other.
And you know what else is really important is you always have to keep growing and learning. Like there's no, you don't get into this going at one point, here I am, I'm done educating, I'm done. Yeah, that is not real. It will never happen. If you're a true entrepreneur, you will always be learning, you will always be educating, because again, that changes your network. It changes, you know, who you're talking to and all those things. And once you have that little bit of education, it allows your box to explode that much more, not exist even that much more.
Yeah, it's shattering, whether it's glass ceilings or whether it's glass walls or whatever. It's just like, get out of that box, guys. Like, don't let other people's opinions or other people's mindsets or other people's viewpoints hold you back.
Yeah. And you know, we've even had a few times where, you know, this is the best part about putting our team members around us. They come at us with really great ideas too. We're at that level now. How awesome is that? Not only is it our brain trust, but now it's our entire team's brain trust. That's when things get, for me anyways, are getting really cool.
Yeah. And the opportunities that have come from, like, honestly, just doing good work and doing good things and sticking to having high standards, high morals, and high integrity. And, you know, again, there's going to be a few other videos happening over the next few months where things are happening in the background. And I'm like, how is this a thing? Like, how did this even come to be? How is this? Like, it's just, it's literally mind blowing.
It is.
And we're living it. And I'm like, what? It doesn't make sense. Doesn't, you know, but again, it goes back to the win-win, and it goes back to just being open to the potential and the possibilities that are out there. Cause honestly, they're everywhere.
Be very careful as an entrepreneur. Don't get drawn into the dark side. Yes, that is a Star Wars little verbiage, but it's so true. When you start producing money, when you start having the ability to make money out of nothing, be careful and check yourself before you wreck yourself. Yes, I know the 80s just came back, but it honestly comes back to, don't get greedy. You know, that is what a win-win is. If you're going to go into this always thinking you're going to suck every dollar out of every opportunity that comes your way, it's going to be short-lived. Be thankful for what you got and move on to the next part. And, you know, because that was one of the lessons in one of our courses. I can't remember the exact one, but I want to say
it was wholesaling.
Yeah. Was it wholesaling with Shelley Hagan? Okay. It was either her or Ross Lytle. I can't remember, or maybe both of them said it, about how always leave a little money for the next person.
Yeah. Leave some money on the table.
Yeah. And people look at us like we're nuts.
Dry. Yeah.
And you know what? It's worked so well for us. So well.
I'd say so.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's weird too, because again, everybody has their own viewpoints, but we've got some people that are like, just go to the bank. It's cheaper money. I'm like, I don't wait well.
No.
So that's not going to work.
No.
Yeah, I'd rather pay our investors and have an immediate response than wait 2 to 3 weeks for bankers to decide what they want to do and then maybe change their mind at the last minute, because that sounds like a good idea.
Bankers have the worst box ever, and it just doesn't fit. I shouldn't say that. There are some entrepreneurial businesses that can do well. If I was going to pick one, BDC does have a lot of things going for them for offering business, especially for women and entrepreneurs and all that. But it just, if you don't have something, if you have something that is so unique, it can be very, very difficult to go through those avenues to work with it. And that was us. That was our Epic Alliance Real Estate Inc. company. It was real estate investments. It was investments people had never seen before, the way it was written and the way it's being handled and all the moving parts. Heck, we broke the CRA. They're still trying to figure out, when we do our taxes, they're still trying to figure out how this all pieces together. And it's awesome, right? I love that we've created new chapters in those areas for other businesses and other companies. That's really, for me, that's really awesome. What do we got there? Oh, Beth, you can get everything you want in life as long as you help others get what they want.
Exactly.
Very good words. It's true.
Yeah, that's a great quote.
Yeah.
And it's the truth.
Yeah.
And there's a byproduct in doing that. And that's
Absolutely.
the entrepreneurial world.
We spent our Saturday afternoon. What were we doing, Rachelle? Do you remember? No? Okay.
Sorry, that was like 2 days ago.
Yeah. So we were sitting down actually with a local church.
Oh, right.
Trying to help them. They may not even do anything with us, but we spent an hour, maybe an hour and a half with this gentleman, and his mind was blown on their opportunities that they had for potential for building the new church, for what they could do with what they had to utilize. He's like, I'd never thought of 80% of what you've thrown at me. He goes, no idea. And then we even said, hey, and we can help advocate certain other aspects for you to help this move along. And he was just flabbergasted. He's like, thank you for your time. And this was such an eye opener. And you know what? It didn't matter to us that this may never turn into some kind of profit thing. The fact that we were able to sit down and the ripple effects, if that church goes along with even 1/3 of what we said, their ripple effect of how much better they'll be in the community, how much stronger they'll be in the community, all those things will, it's endless. Right there, that's a give back infinite return right there.
And that whole process was super interesting too, because at the end of the day, that specific church had invested in quite a few properties.
Which was intriguing.
Land, in my opinion, is literally the exact best investment you're ever going to make. And they bought a long time ago.
Mm-hmm.
And so these property values have gone up. And so we were basically giving ideas and saying, hey, you can actually get this into a cash flowing position. And, what his rebuttal was, oh, well, we want people to donate to the church and feel like their money's being used for good stuff. And if we make too much money, they may not want to do that. And what was interesting is I've said, well, it goes back to what's your mindset about money, because if you have more money, the way I look at it is you're able to do better and more with it.
Yeah.
Right. Whereas it's not coming from a lack mentality, it's coming from an abundant mindset.
Yeah.
And so he was like, oh, that's a different way to look at things.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So again, this goes back to the whole adage of, money's the root of all evil, blah, blah, blah. Does money change people? In my opinion, it doesn't, because I know the more I have, it's not going to change who I am. I am who I am.
Yeah.
But if your mindset is that money does change people, then maybe money will change you.
You know what it changes? How you can execute things. That's all it changes. And what do I mean by that? Hey, I was able to feed 300 people at one time.
Yeah.
Great, cool. Where am I at right now? I can feed 2 people at one time.
Yeah.
Right? That's what it changes.
We are almost out of time.
We are
in Alyssa's office. So let's meet Bob.
Oh yeah, everybody talks about Bob. This is too funny.
You gotta give a tour.
Okay.
Of your office.
Of my, yeah.
Got a minute, 1 minute tour.
1 minute tour. Okay. So Bob, that's my Bob. Bob is one of my archery bucks, because yes, for those that don't know, Alyssa likes to hunt, and I love being out in the middle of nowhere with nothing. And yeah, so that is one of my passions, as you can see. And then my wall of books, because when I run out of things between my ears, these are all of the between the ears people that I can rely on to help me find ideas or think outside the box. Right there, that is, for those that don't know, that is my cute little 14-year-old, his grade 8 picture. He is obviously in love with, thank you, Star Wars and all the things. And yeah, and then honestly, it's just the cabinet, and it's a pretty, if you turn around, this is my assistant's desk where Ashley was sitting. And then, you know, my other love and passion, I got horses in my life. And on top of the cabinet, that Rachelle gave me that cool poster, Born to Fly on Horseback. And this, ironically, we were in a house the other day, and I love this. For those that don't know, these are the iron workers from New York when they were, I believe, building the Empire State Building back in the day. And such a cool, to me, all I can think about is, you know, there's so many unsafe things right there. And for our team, I just keep thinking all the time that, you know, I got to keep that in mind. We've come a long way, and their family, and we got to keep them protected. And, you know, so and then here's my desk over where Rachelle's sitting. It's, you know, I have a love for Brian Balmer. You know, hey, Brian, I want to come to your island someday. So if anybody knows him, please put him in touch with us, because we want to go to his island and see his cool place. So yeah,
Awesome.
that's it. That's me in a nutshell.
Okay, so
There you go.
thank you for joining us.
Yeah.
And in the meantime,
Stay epic.